There comes a time in the life of a photographer where you start thinking about full frame, but you always sacrifice something when you switch. For me, one of the biggest drawbacks was sacrificing the sensor shift stabilization in my Lumix G80, with which I could take up to 2 seconds exposure from my hands. Now that's like a superpower you can only have with Lumix. And I could have gone with the Lumix S5, but for the colors, connectivity and mostly for the price, I've chosen to go with the second-hand Canon RP, which at best has a stabilized lens, and even that struggles to make a photo with 1/10 of a second. But what if you shoot mostly video, where you rarely go below 1/40th of a second? In this test, I compared all the options from native stabilization to dual IS with warp stabilizer, even a Dolly zoom from my hands, and also with a point stabilization so you can see the jitters. The reason you see jitters before that is because I screwed up the 180 rule because I was in a bit of a rush. I'll explain what the 180 rule is in a bit, but I should explain what you see here in these shots as the autofocus keeps jumping in and out. And you may be familiar with how much people hate the Lumix autofocus. I never really complained, but on the other hand I always had native lenses which worked just okay for photography and for video. So when I chose to buy the Canon RP, I was promised the great Canon dual pixel autofocus for photography and for video, but to be honest, it really wasn't all that much better. Even with native Canon RF STM lenses. One way or the other, you should still make video with manual focus, which is a sad reality for 2023 where AI can make videos by itself. Okay, so the 180 rule is the fact that you need to double your shutter speed in video so the motion blur would look natural and the video would look smooth. For 25 FPS you would need 1/50th of a second, and for 60 FPS you would need 120th of a second, but because I didn't have enough light, I subconsciously turned it down to either 1/50th of a second or maybe even less, so that's why the video does not look as smooth. But at least now you can see how different stabilizations work, and you can tell me which looks better in the comments. But if I'll be switching to full frame, that answer is in this video. Alright, have a good one. Come on boy, focus.